So this video is the second in a sequence to show the Shunra product capabilities. We're looking today at Shunra Network Virtualization version 8.5, formerly known as vCat. This is the product that can be installed on client workstations, and we're looking at the multi-user mode, which is used for mobile on-device testing. This diagram shows all of the Shunra products, and the product we're looking at today is highlighted here. You should note that it is actually one product that provides both desktop and mobile capabilities with two modes. Desktop is typically single user and the mobile is a multi-user mode. The product that you can download and install is called vCat for mobile version 8.5, and depending on your license will support both single user and multi-user mode. This product, the multi-user mode of Shunra Network Virtualization, is for mobile on-device testing. It provides a web interface which allows users to control the network conditions from their device. Up to 10 users can use one driver installed in the test environment at the same time, independently starting and stopping their tests and performing analysis. It's typically used for testing mobile apps and mobile web on device. The process is to run a baseline test across Wi-Fi and to then run a sequence of impaired tests to show the impact of network conditions on performance and functionality. Typically we will also time transactions to mark the steps in a journey. Optionally, you can also use Shunra Analytics and a web interface to have a look at analysis and optimization to improve performance. This diagram shows the test environment. This is typically made up of a series of test devices, smartphones, tablets. The devices are typically connected via Wi-Fi, and we've installed the Shunra product on a workstation in the test environment. The starting point is to access the user interface of Shunra for mobile using a web interface on the mobile device. So that's what we're going to have a look at now. What you can see here is the actual screen of an Android mobile device, and it's connected to the network via Wi-Fi. So the starting point is actually to access the user interface in a web browser. Then what we need to do is to define a name for the different tests that we're going to run. We simply enter a name here. And then the user can define network conditions using this Start New Test button. There are two ways of defining the network conditions. You can use existing profiles, which are administered by an administrator, or you can specify the conditions using the Custom tab. To start with, I'd like to show you the impact of a baseline test with no additional network impairment. Click on Start. We see that the user interface has updated and it's showing the test is running, and it shows the amount of data that's flowing through the test. For this example, I'm going to actually show a website, and we simply enter the URL. So now by clicking on the website, we can see how long it takes to load under Wi-Fi conditions. This is the baseline. So now what I'd like to do is to change the network conditions. So we use the Update button. So we're going to apply some different conditions. These are manual conditions. We could use a profile from the global database, which we'll see later. I'm now going to update the test. So now we're going to load the same page as before, which is the BBC mobile website. And we see that with these network conditions, the page takes considerably longer to load. Still hasn't finished. Okay, so the page is completed. Now what we can do is to return to the user interface and stop the test. We'll save the test results. And optionally, on the user interface here, we can even browse into the results. So we can see here that there were two steps in the journey that I ran with different network conditions. If we look at the second network condition, we can see a summary of the information of how much data was downloaded and the different elements. Optionally, we may also have a look at the optimization recommendations, so we can see that some images are too large, and there are some other things which could be done to improve this site. So we've seen how you can start the user interface on the mobile device via a web browser. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the console. The console is accessible from anywhere on the test environment, but is accessed from a desktop browser. So this is what the console looks like. It allows us to see the list of devices which have previously performed tests. We can browse into the results, and just like we could on the mobile device, we can also see those results in the same way. One other thing that can be done in the console is you can actually administer the network profiles. So we can add a new network profile, and this allows us to specify the location of the user and the location of the server. We've selected a user in London and a server in New Delhi, and then we may select the local carriers. In this case we can see the 5 UK operators, and the type of connectivity. In this case we can choose the different network bands. And then finally it allows us to specify poor, fair or good conditions and provide a name for this. This will download and create a profile from the Network Catcher global database, which is actually comprised of more than 5 billion end-user measurements performed on mobile apps and browsers around the world. Something else that we can do is that we can actually go into our test and look at the test results again, and this time we can download the results into a file. That file can then be opened in Shunra Analytics to allow us to see more detailed analysis of the performance. So here we can see the result of analysis. We can see the data that was downloaded on the first page and on the reload. Shunra Analytics will be covered in another video, but in summary we can see the steps, we can see the amount of time that the steps took, in this case 86 seconds for the second test, and the amount of data that was downloaded, as well as a network profile and some other data. If we click here, and we can have a look at the waterfall, and we can actually see how the page is downloaded, all the different elements which are downloaded. And if we click on the individual elements, we can even see things like the actual image reconstructed from the packet data. Analytics also allows us to see in more detail the optimization report, which was shown in the web browser, including things like compressing elements, reducing the size of cookies, minifying text elements. These typically allow you to improve the performance of mobile web and apps by up to 50 to 75%. We've seen that by using the console we can visualize the results. It's also possible, while the test is running, to use the console to mark steps across a journey. This is useful for analytics. In terms of supporting the test environment, there are several options for routing the traffic from mobile devices through the Shunra Network Virtualization for Mobile product. Some of the options are shown here. At the top we have the possibility of using software to create a Wi-Fi hotspot on a test workstation and connecting devices to it. In the middle we have the possibility of using new hardware to create a new Wi-Fi hotspot. And at the bottom we also have the capability of using a web proxy. So we install the software on a workstation with a web proxy, we administer the proxy in the mobile devices, and the traffic is routed in and out of the Shunra driver to allow us to capture traffic and apply network conditions. The Shunra mobile test environment also supports on-device automated testing, including APIs to all of the on-device automation toolsets from Perfecto, Jammo, Keynote Device Anywhere, and other tools. What this means is that you may automate the execution of tests on the mobile device and use an API to change the network conditions so that you can see the virtual effect of changing between 2G, 3G, or changing the location. So again, in summary, the multi-user mode of Shunra Network Virtualization is designed for mobile on-device testing. It has a web interface, including on-client interface and a console. It allows up to 10 users to run tests at a time. Typically we're testing mobile apps and mobile websites on device. We run multiple tests with a baseline to compare the difference between networks, and we can use time transactions. And automatically, as an option, you can export the traffic data to perform analysis and optimization.